Okay, everyone, Mr. Allen here. We're going to do something a little different today. We're going to do some practice problems. These practice problems basically are going to give us the skills we need to be able to implement different things in our programs later on. So, unfortunately, programming is not all fun and games, creating this, creating that. Often it's going to be a matter of kind of working through small bits of code to try to get something specific happening. And these practice problems will kind of be the first step in that. So a little bit of housekeeping here to start. In order to submit these things and in order to sort of do the program, what we're going to do is you got a couple of options, I guess. One option will be just to make separate sprites for each of the programs that you do, and you can name them program 1, program 2 if you want. The second option would be once you've created a program that does something, kind of slide it off to the side and start the next one there. That way you don't lose the code. What we will do for submission purposes is if we open Word, when we go to Insert here on the second page, second tab, this screenshot idea will allow me to take a picture of something off my screen. And so what I'm going to do basically is take a picture of this section of code right here. It comes up in Word, and then I can kind of label it solution to program 1, positive, negative, /0. Okay, so and I'll copy and paste each of my solutions into one file, save it as a PDF, and that's what I'll be able to submit later on. So you're going to want to save that on your H drive so that it's available later on. I'll make a Dropbox in e-learning so you can actually submit it that way. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of kind of handing in these small assignments. It'll be nice and easy to do. As far as actually going through the problem, what you want to recognize is your job will be to kind of figure out step by step what we need to do. So in this case, I'm going to use the example of finding the absolute value of a number. So first thing, of course, is I have to know what absolute value means. The absolute value of a number is the size of a number. And so I'm going to ask, first of all, for the user to type in a number. And then I'm going to wait for an answer. So all of these will start basically the same way, where you will ask them for their information. You'll wait for whatever it is they type in. Once they've typed it in, and so right now when I click on this, you see this is what pops up. Once I type something in, I can either hit enter or click, and it will pass that on, and then the program will continue. What I'm going to do when you sort of see it over here is I'm going to create a variable that I can use in this program. In this case, I'm going to set the number that they've typed in. I have a variable called number1 for now. If I need variables for number 2, number 3, and so on, I will use them the same way. I'm going to set the number to be the answer that was typed. This way, if I do need to ask another question later on, I don't overwrite the answer. My answer has been stored as number 1, and I can use that throughout my program. And then basically my job is to figure out what do I need to do to determine what the absolute value is. So the first thing is, if you've got the idea of absolute value, when we have a negative number for absolute value, I need to change it to be positive. When we have a positive number, the number's already fine. So really what I'm interested in is basically the same thing that I had here. Now, it probably would have made sense to duplicate that so I didn't actually lose the original. I don't want to mess up my old program, remember? But in this case, it says if number 1 is less than 0, so if it's a negative value, I need to change number 1 to something else. In this case, I'm actually going to set it. So sort of just a quick clarification, what change does, because I could blow this up, change increases or decreases our number. If you want to make the number something specific, then we're always going to use set. Now that I've blown it up so much, I can't get rid of it. So I want to set number 1 to B, And now the tricky part is sort of what goes on here. Now this question is a little bit more advanced than some others, but basically what I want to set it to be, if you think about how do I change a negative number to be a positive number, basically multiplying it by -1 is the solution. So now I want to change number 1 to be whatever number 1 was times -1. Now again, this is an advanced question for some of you that's probably beyond what your understanding is right now. The programming is the important part, not so much the absolute value. But basically this is how absolute value works. If I have a negative number, if I have a number that's less than 0, then I want to change that number. I want to set that number to a new value. That new value will be whatever it was times -1. So if I had -5 to start, I get -5 times -1 is +5, and now num1 is +5. Now, if I have a positive number to start, I don't have to worry about doing anything to it. So in this case, the simple if statement is enough. In a case where I might have 2 or 3 steps, of course, I'll use my if with my else and so on to get through the problem. So all I have left to do is basically report back what the answer actually is. My program should always, in the end, answer the question. If I'm trying to find the absolute value, I should be able to say, therefore, the answer is this. And so we're going to say, in this case, it's just going to have us say hello for 2 seconds. Obviously not quite what we want. Now there is under operators here, an option to join some things together. Okay, so I guess my first idea would be if I simply print out num1 or make a second variable in this case to be the absolute value, I could say that value for 2 seconds. So right now if I look at this, if my number is -11, it tells me 11. If I say 12, it tells me 12. Click. If it's 0, 0, and so on. So it seems to be working, but not the best answer when it just says 22. What I'd like it to do is, sort of say something that would allow everybody to understand exactly what's going on. And so again, under operators now, I'm going to join. So I'm going to join num1 with a sentence that kind of gives a bit more detail. I'm going to put in a space so that it prints the number, and then it prints is the absolute value of your number. What is your number? -99. 99 is the absolute value of your number. And then again, once I've got that kind of done, I guess I could just move this out of the way, shrink this down a little bit, and back into Word. I will go Insert, Screenshot, Screen Clipping, and of course it closes Word so that I have access to whatever's behind it. In this case, this thing, and it goes in, and now I just sort of make sure it's clear that this is solution number 2, finding absolute value. Okay, so solution to program 1, positive -0. There's my solution. Solution to number 2, absolute value. And it's nice and easy. I will eventually save this as a PDF and upload it to Dropbox. If you need help with that, of course, I can help later.